Welcome to Leadership, the secret sauce, where extraordinary coaches and leaders reveal what makes them exceptional. We're your hosts, Dave Lipsky and Matt Dodson. Together, let's discover our guest's secret sauce. Today's episode is brought to you by Character Matters Coaching and Consulting. At Character Matters, we believe great leadership isn't just about results. It's about who you become along the way. From career transitions to team building, we help leaders unlock clarity, build resilience, and lead authentically. Because when character grows, impact follows. Visit charactermatterscoaching.com. Today's episode is supported completely unofficially by a community we deeply believe in, the International Coaching Federation's Coaching in Organizations. If you're building or leading an internal coaching program, this is where your people find their people. It's a space to swap real stories, sharpen your craft, and stay connected to what's emerging in our field. If you haven't joined yet, take a moment to sign up and plug into the conversations shaping the future of organizational coaching. Your community is waiting, and they're ready to learn with you. Go to coachingfederation.org/coaching-in-organizations-inquiry to get started.
All right, welcome into today's episode. We're sitting down with Pari Smart this afternoon to uncover her secret sauce of leadership. We're going to get to her story, some of the challenges. We hope that you'll stick around. But before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel. That sort of helps us with get even better guests. Not that we don't have good guests. We have excellent guests, but even more other guests that pay attention to likes and subscribe. So if you could do that, that would be awesome. Dave, who do we have on the podcast this day?
I would like to welcome Pari. And just to start off, I love the background in your office.
Well, that's interesting you would say that, Dave, because when I painted it this color, my boyfriend said it looked like a Mexican restaurant. And I said, well, even better, who does not want to spend their entire day in a Mexican restaurant? So
I'm with you, because if I had a choice of where to be coached, I would definitely pick, 2 margaritas and a coach.
So welcome.
So we usually like to start off with an energy check-in on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being low, 10 being high. Where is your energy in the present moment?
I think in the present moment, it's pretty good. I'm going to give it a strong 9. I think I'm a strong 9 today.
Very cool. What has you at a 9?
Well, a couple of things. One is I got a really good night's sleep last night, and I got to sleep in this morning. I slept until 5:15, so that was pretty amazing. But the reason I always get up early, sleep in, not sleep in, is because there's things I like to do in the morning that kind of ground me and get me energized for the day. And this morning I had a chance to do all of those. So
very cool. Farming background, 5:15 in the morning.
Well, I mean, I grew up in Nebraska, but I was a city girl. So yeah, no, I think it's an age thing, Dave. The older I get, the earlier I wake up and the more energized I feel. But I go to bed at 8:45, so it's a give and take.
Yeah, it's all in balance. And Matt, how about you? Where's your energy level this morning?
I would probably say 9.5. I've been to the gym. I'm on the second cup of coffee. I'm good.
Very nice.
How about you, Dave?
Me, I'm saying I'm a 9 also. I'm on my second cup of iced coffee. Got a chance to walk the dog. And it's a good start of the day. And I'm excited to talk to Pari about her coaching work and secret sauce and learn more about you. One question for me, and then I'll hand it back over to Matt, Pari. So you're on a plane, train, or automobile, and the person next to you says, "Hi, Pari, what do you do?" How do you answer that?
That is a great question. I think probably the first thing I would say is I help individuals and organizations thrive and flourish. And hopefully that's enough to kind of grab their attention. And then I would go in and talk about how I do coaching and leadership development within organizations.
That's a really great answer. Yeah.
That is awesome. And also, could you pass the chips and salsa?
Yeah. The margarita's coming in too, so it'll be over momentarily. Finish your coffee first. And
Yeah. What an amazing combination. All right, Perry. So we want to sort of make sure we ask this question. What is your secret sauce? If you could explain it to somebody, what is the secret sauce and when did you know it was your secret sauce?
I love that question because it really caused me to sit back and reflect. I knew it was coming. And so I thought a lot about that. And I want to tell a little story because I think I didn't know what my secret sauce was until this thing happened. And then I was able to reflect back on it. And I had been doing leadership development and coaching in organizations for 20 years and had this great opportunity to go in and start a leadership coaching program at a healthcare system. And this was fantastic, and I was super excited. And the timing is important because I started that role in the end of February 2020. And I had no idea what was about to hit us in the next 2 to 3 weeks. But I had actually met my boss outside of interviewing for the job 4 times when she came to my office and said, "You need to go home. We are sending all non-essential people home. It looks like Texas is about to shut down. So go home and figure out how to do leadership coaching for all our nurse managers from the privacy of your house." So I headed home and I was trying to figure out what my approach was, what I was going to do. And so, not knowing how severe the situation actually was at that time, I just started emailing our nurse managers. And I said, "Hey, I'm new and I'm the new executive coach and looking forward to helping you grow your team and be more productive." And people actually responded. And I would get these calls set up, but they responded in ways I didn't expect. And normally what would happen is we would get on the Zoom and I would introduce myself and then they would introduce themselves and I would say, "How are you?" And they would break down because this was the beginning of COVID and the world was a little bit crazy. And sometimes I sat on the Zoom with them for an hour and they cried. And that's what we did. And I held space for them and allowed them to do that. Sometimes they would get on the phone or the Zoom call and they'd say, "You know what I need is quiet and I need you to sit with me." So I learned to sit on a Zoom call for an hour and say nothing. And I went back to my boss and I said, "I got to tell you, this is not the time for us to start a leadership coaching program, but we got to do something because these nurse managers are really at their wits' end and we don't know what's coming down the pike, what's going to hit us." And she said, "Well, I don't know what to tell you, so figure it out." And that's no fault of hers at all. But what I did is that was kind of the pivotal moment, I would say, in my whole career where I said, "Okay, what am I going to do?" And I did some deep dive study and some research, found out there's this whole science called positive psychology and how it brings in neuroscience and it brings in mindfulness and all of these different components. I had nothing else to do, so I took an 18-month program in that. And what it really taught me is to see people as a whole person. And while I'm really serious about coaching, from a leadership science perspective, I think that we get the best results when we do hold space for the entire person and kind of meet them where they are. So that's the long version of your answer to your question, Matt. And I didn't mean to bring down the party vibe, but it really has been pivotal and exciting for me because I think my secret sauce is that I am able to see all of my clients as a whole person. And I'm able to bring in or allow them to bring in as many aspects of themselves as they want to a coaching session. So.
Dave and I were together about that same time, and we, just like I think everybody, didn't know what was going to happen. Can you share a time where things didn't go as planned, right? So we always have some things as coaches, especially in the last 6 to 10 years. Things didn't go as the way you wanted it to, or and then this idea of holding space for the whole person. How did that help you in that?
Yeah, that's a good question. And that's kind of a hard one, actually. I got to admit, that's a little hard. I think the best example is I'm going to turn this back on myself in a way. Because during that time, like many other people, I also decided I was going to write a book. And so I wrote a book called The Flourishing Journal. And I don't know where I got this belief. I've analyzed myself and I'm not sure where it came from, but this belief was I should be able to do this whole project by myself, and I should be able to do it in a timely fashion, and it should be beautiful, and I should be able to figure this out. And so I actually was really happy with the content. And then again, for whatever reason, I had this belief. I thought, I can do the copywriting, and I can do the layout, and I can do the cover design. And so I thought I had done all of that. And then I had people in my life who were really proud of me, and they pre-ordered copies. And then it came back, and I got to tell you, I was still happy with the stuff on the inside, but every other part of it was a disaster. And so it was terrible. And it was humiliating because I knew people had pre-ordered it and they had it in their mailbox, and it was embarrassing. And so what I had to do is I kind of had to hold some space for myself there, and I had to give myself some grace and say, okay, that happened, and it's okay to have those feelings and be aware of those feelings. And now let's figure out from a growth mindset perspective, what am I going to do differently, and what am I going to do about this? And so that was a time where I then had to step back and say, okay, that was my draft. It wasn't very good, and people have seen it. So now they know I'm human, and they know what my strengths and weaknesses are. And I got some help. I always tell coaching clients that partnerships are so much stronger, and you produce such better results than what you can normally produce by yourself. And yet I didn't take that advice. So I got some help. I got some partners. We fixed the problems. And I was able to re-release right before Thanksgiving, which was fantastic because I was able to share it. Like, this is something I'm really thankful for. And it was a lesson I might not have learned otherwise, but it was an opportunity for me to really practice this growth mindset, practice this grace, practice seeing myself as a full person, and maybe not able to do it all. Yeah. And then I had to reorder all of those copies and send it out to everybody who had bought the ugly one, because I needed to kind of redeem myself. So it cost me a lot of money, which means that I reminded myself of that. But I would say that's probably a pretty good example of a time where, for some reason, everything I coached everyone else on wasn't sinking in until I actually could physically see the product and say, yeah, Pari, step back and let's do something different. So.
Yeah. What did you learn most about yourself in that process?
I think I learned that it's okay to not be able to do it all. And again, Dave, it's so interesting to me because I tell people all of the time, it's okay to ask for help. It's okay. We know, you guys are working together on this podcast. We know we tend to be stronger together. And yet, for some reason, I thought, as the coach, as the person who, people come to, I was maybe somehow different. And it just clearly wasn't the case. So I actually have a whole box, Dave, of those really ugly journals in my closet, and I kept them because it's a reminder of wow, it's right. It's not beautiful, and you can rebound from that. And it is a reminder, don't think that you're all that and you can do it without help, because none of us can.
It is fascinating how, in working with clients, sometimes they put pressure on themselves and they go inward and isolate themselves. And we're, as coaches, we're susceptible to the same. Do you find that in your coaching work?
Just that I am susceptible, or that people go inward?
That people tend to, under pressure, they go inward. They don't collaborate.
Oh yeah.
They put more pressure on themselves.
Yeah, I think that under pressure I can't say everybody, of course, but I think it's human nature for us to say, we're under pressure, we're under time limits, let's just put our head down, let's focus, let's burn the midnight oil, let's go straight through. We don't have time for a break. And that was something that I heard with my nurses when I first started doing this type of coaching, that that kind of shifted my perspective. And something I see with people every day is I don't have time to take a break. I ask folks, okay, I know you're under pressure, it's a huge project, what are you doing to take care of yourself? And they say, I don't have time to take care of myself, I just got to get through it, and then I'll take care of myself. And so that's when I'm able to pull in some of this and say, what the science says is that when we take care of ourselves first, we're actually going to be way more productive in the time we're working on whatever it is we're working on. So I think that most of us do it, and I am susceptible to it too. So all I have to do is open that closet that's right there and see that big box of books, and it's kind of a visual that like, okay, Perry, you've got time for a walk around the block, right? Or you've got time to reach out to somebody to ask for help. So
I was just, as you were saying that, I remember there's probably a quote from Martin Luther or something. He talked about his really long schedule. And he says, I don't have time not to pray. Just, yeah, this is the instrument that I'm working with. If I don't take care of this, how good of a coach am I really going to be if I'm just dispensing? I bend towards advice giving. And if I don't take care of this, will bend toward more advice rather than asking. Inquiry. Yeah.
well, I was going to say, you mentioned that quote. One of the thing, I don't know if I guess it's a quote. My coach told me during that process or experience I was having, she said, Perry, I believe that if you look back at anything you put out in the world 5 years ago and you're not a little bit embarrassed, you didn't put it out fast enough, which I thought was really interesting. And that has stuck with me. So I throw that out to people as well.
There you go, Dave.
It's good feedback, Matt.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, Perry, if someone shadowed you for a week, right? They were sort of, they were by your side in the turquoise room. Where would they see your secret sauce clearly, like in action?
Okay, so I'm a coach, Matt. I got to ask a question back before I can give you an answer. Like,
Sure.
what time are they showing up to shadow?
Ooh. Well, just say when your best time is. How about that?
Well, so yeah,
best
okay,
and
fair
worst.
enough. So like I said when we started, I am actually a morning person. And I think if they showed up to have that first cup of coffee with me, yeah, I may not be looking my best, but I actually think that's a really good example of when my secret sauce is coming through. And it goes back to what you said with the quote, like how do I not have time to pray? Is that I really emphasize with my clients that we've got to take care of ourselves in the midst of all of this. And so, like I mentioned when we started, for me, morning is kind of a sacred time, and I am very deliberate as to how I schedule calls, how I schedule appointments, how I schedule classes, because I need that time to do the things that are going to fill me up and allow me to show up as my best. So I would say if they are able to get here for the first cup of coffee at 5:15, they're definitely going to see the secret sauce in action, and it's me practicing what I preach. And then I think if they get to sit down here in the turquoise room, there is a turquoise and gold chair right to my right. If they take a seat there and watch me in action, I would like to hope that they're going to see that in every coaching session that I do. I would say 95% of the people I coach, they are interested in having like a whole person coaching experience. And then there's still 5% who are like, I don't want to talk about anything outside of my role. Let's do this, 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 and this. And I'm able to meet them there. But what I have found to be so interesting is I've had people who have come to me with that as the initial plan. Like, hey, we're going to do business coaching. We're going to talk about these goals and this timelines and deadlines. And then maybe in the second or third session, they'll say things to me like, I don't know if you believe in anything like this, but I journal. And I'm like, oh, there's my little opening, right? Or they'll say, I don't know if you believe in this sort of thing, but it seems to me like gratitude's really important. And I get these little openings. And so I feel like most everybody who either comes to me, it's because they maybe they sense that I've got something they need, or they know I've got something they need with regards to being able to see them and hold that space and looking at ways to keep them healthy and resilient from a neuroscience, from a leadership science-based background. So, did I answer your question, Matt?
Yeah, you did. Actually, I was just going to say, I think sometimes executive coaches or leadership coaches won't want to admit this, but I did hear like, oh, well, everything after the third session is life coaching anyway. I know that's a little uncomfortable for some of us, but when the client starts to open up about other things in their life, some of it has very little to do with business goals. It's, you know, I don't know. Dave, what do you think?
Yeah, I think that our clients get stuck on things, right? And the kind of the work that we do, we spend as much time as we need to help them get unstuck. And until they get into the deeper issues, sometimes they stay stuck,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Well, and I agree with you, Dave, because I think that Matt said, a lot of these things don't really have to do with business. They do and they don't, right? They don't really, but I think that's where maybe as coaches we've missed the point, is that if you've got other stuff going on back here, it's going to be hard for you to show up at your best possible self at work. So
Yeah. How do you as a coach open that up, like create a safe place for people to talk about that other stuff that might be interfering with them being effective in the environment they asked you to coach them in?
yeah, that's a good question. When I do my introductory, like our little introductory call, I do let people know that this is my experience and this is what I've seen, and my job is to meet you where you are. And I always tell people that the coaching journeys I go on with people, it's like a road trip. So I let them know we're going to go on a road trip. We can go anywhere you want, okay? Or we can stay straight on the highway and just keep going straight wherever you want. So it's your call. And then I tell them, but the thing is, I'm going to hold the map and the snacks, and they hold the wheel. So I say, if I suggest we take a right-hand turn and you don't want to go right, go straight, and I'll follow you. I have no choice. I'm in the passenger seat, right? And then I always ask them, Dave, what's their favorite snack? I'll bring it along, and that kind of lightens the moment. Um, and then so people know that they have that opening, they have that permission, but I really try hard to follow them.
Pari, when you talk to other coaches, what do you think coaches need to stop doing and start doing if they want to stay relevant?
That's a hard question. I'm not sure what all other coaches are doing or shouldn't be doing. One thing I am hearing though within my coach friends that I think is getting maybe tiring is a good word, is worrying about AI. Yeah, I'm hearing that a lot in kind of coach circles and I've even heard it from clients. They'll come into sessions and say, Pari, before we got on, I talked to AI about this. And what I guess I'm beginning to believe this, that, I'm okay if a client wants to talk to AI before they talk to me. That may actually help them clarify their thoughts a little bit more. And I feel like when people come to real people coaches, right, when they're not talking to AI, there's still things that no matter how advanced AI gets, I don't think they can take away from actually being with a person. And so I guess when I think about what coaches in general should stop doing and what I have tried to stop doing is worrying about job security. I think we'll evolve and we'll be what we need to be for the people who need us to be it. And I think that also allows me to be present for people and not coming from a place of fear or anxiety. Yeah, it's always worked out, and I would have never guessed ever that the journey would have looked like this. But it's worked out in such a beautiful way. I have to believe that AI can only in the coaching business help us and help our clients and not hurt us. So.
I wanted to. We had a conversation before we started about our walk-on song, and for some reason, this conversation kind of brought me back to that. So, question for you is: when you're being called to stage, what award are you winning, and what's your walk-up song, and why?
What award am I winning? Oh my gosh, what award am I winning? Wow, Dave, you may win the award for stumping me. I think I think I'd like to think that I'm going to win the award for being authentic and for showing like what you see is what you get with me. And I take what I do really seriously, but I also want to have some fun. And what I truly care about my clients, which I know just, like it probably sounds very cliche, but I look forward. Like, I'm like, oh, good, today I get to talk to this person. I can't wait to hear and see how much, how successful she's been. Or, oh, yay, I've got one client who likes early morning calls, which means I don't get my full thing in. But I really like him. He's a good guy and he has these qualities I love about him. So I would say I would want to win the award for being authentic, and what you see is what you get, and then truly caring about my clients. And the song, now here's the pressure because I'm not sure I know the actual name, but it's by Harry Connick Jr. And the line is, I'm reticent. So I think maybe the name is You Didn't Know Me When. I think that might be the name, but it's from the 90s probably. I could sing a few bars, but then everyone would turn off the podcast. So we probably won't want to do that. But it's a fantastic song. And basically, it just talks about all the different experiences the singer has had, and how I'm a different person today than I was yesterday, and how you might not even recognize me that because I've changed and grown so much over my time. And that's kind of how I feel like I am. Like, yeah, 35 years ago, I would have never guessed anything that's true about my life today could have even been possible. So, yeah, and I think it's way more fun than if it had turned out like I thought it would. So,
Pari, can you tell us a little bit about how did you get to coaching?
yeah. So, how I got to coaching was I had mentioned that I was in leadership training my whole career. That's pretty much where I started. And I got introduced to coaching because the company I worked for at the time wanted to start doing assessments, and they didn't really have anybody who that wasn't that person's role. And they said, well, whoever volunteers to do this, will send you to Gallup in Omaha, Nebraska, for a week-long training, and you'll get trained. And I was like, please, 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 please. And I called the gatekeeper and I said, anything you want, I'll do anything you want, but please pick me to go. And they did. And 2 days before I had to go, I got bronchitis and I could barely breathe. And I went anyway. And I told the instructor, I said, I'm going to sit in the back of the room away from everybody. And but I want to be here so badly. Because I had taken that assessment prior, and for me, it just really, the lights came on, and it made like everything about my personality kind of make sense. It made me feel like I had gifts, and it wasn't just all a big hot mess. So that was my first inroads, was through that experience, and then I did more assessments, and then I did more training, and then, like I said, I had that pivotal moment with the healthcare, which is then I think my coaching went like super elevated and really changed the foundation and the way I look at what I do. So I guess just a lucky break. Is that fair?
I don't know. I think you're maybe meant to be. If anybody, one of our listeners actually just follows Pari on LinkedIn, she writes a lot in some articles you can see around purpose and around all of those things. So I just encourage you to take a look at that because she talks about that. I think there was a recent one on purpose that was really, really good. Just some fundamental questions. Pari, if you had to, identify what an ideal coach, what would you want in a coach?
I've got a coach because I think we all need to have a coach. And I think the thing that attracted me to her was that she brings to coaching some of the things that I try to bring to my clients. And not that my style is the right style, but it's the right style for me. And so I appreciate the fact that she can hold space for me. I appreciate that she's non-judgmental. I appreciate that she doesn't try to fix my problems, but really kind of challenges me, because I think that's super important. You're going to right? If you tell me what to do, I'm going to be like, yeah, whatever, Dave, whatever, Matt. But if I come up with it, it's going to be something that's way easier for me to buy into. So, so she won't fix my problems. She believes in me and believes that I have the ability to figure out how to do that. So she's challenging. And then normally we laugh. So we have some fun and we laugh too.
For those like of our audience that's looking for a particular coach or something, how would you, as a coach, how do you find a coach? What did you do?
Well, for me, it was, I run in a circle of coaches, right? So it might be a little easier, but I think certainly if you're looking for a coach, I think LinkedIn is a great way to start, because it gives you a feel for, are they out there? Are they writing stuff? What's their point of view? What do they care about? I tend to write a lot about burnout and resilience and emotional intelligence and regulation and those sorts of things. So I think that's a great way to start. Certainly then have those discovery calls. I think most people will have a discovery call with you to see if the chemistry is right. So I think that's a great way to do it as well.
Yeah. And then maybe you can, beyond books, right? Beyond your books, what resources would you recommend to other people? Like maybe unconventional resources, podcasts, or what are some things that you recommend to other leaders? So say they open the door about like, hey, I sort of have this gratitude thing. What else would you recommend?
Yeah. I think the number one thing that I recommend, and somehow I have this way of working this into a lot of the workshops I do as well, is breathing. And here's why I mention that, is that breathing is the only bodily function I can come up with. And if you guys want to challenge me, that's fine. The only one I can come up with that if we totally ignore, it's going to happen. Or we can be super deliberate about it and we can actually change the brain chemistry and change what's happening in our body if we choose to. So if you guys have another one, let me know. But I think breathing is it. And what I've noticed about breathing and why I've decided it's like my personal mission is that when people get upset, and I want to see if I can do this. When people get upset, they normally breathe like this. Right? And that's exactly the wrong way to breathe if you're trying to relax. Because when you do that, you're activating the sympathetic nervous system, which is fight or flight. And so will you humor me? Can I show you a proper way to breathe? All right. I told you I find a way of working this in. So really, when you're upset or you're anxious and you're trying to stop that flow of adrenaline that's going through your body, the best thing to really do is to breathe in through your nose. But when you do that, you want to push your stomach out. So it's more like, and then when you exhale, you're going to exhale through your mouth and you're going to pull your stomach back towards your spine. So, and when you do that for several counts, that actually interrupts the adrenaline that's flowing through your body. And it's a signal for your parasympathetic nervous system to start to take over, which allows you to rest and digest and to relax and to reset. That average flow or cycle of adrenaline takes about 90 seconds to go through your body. So you've got 90 seconds once you start feeling upset to interrupt the cycle before it starts over. So that would be maybe an unconventional resource that I could recommend.
I like it. I don't think anybody's ever recommended that, Dave, on the show. In 60-something episodes, nobody's ever recommended that. I
don't remember it, but it's needed. It sounds like a very powerful part of your practice.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Dave, what's your reflection on what Pari has shared with us?
Pari, I appreciate the authentic space that you create in the work. And it seems like your discovery of like who you are is like part of that journey. And being able to learn like as you go, but then being present in that space that you want to create for clients, which is really incredibly inviting. And the breathing exercise, I'm going to use in my next class, if that's okay. I appreciate it.
Oh, that's wonderful. No, I would love that. Thank you.
Matt?
I think for me, Pari, you were meant to be a coach. I don't, like as someone in L&D and then someone that's really passionate about it, I don't think anybody could have stopped you from being a coach because it just naturally came to you. It was what you're meant to do. And we're grateful for it. And I'm grateful for those of you who don't know, Perry and I met through this Churchill leadership group. We're one of the coaches in that cohort. And then we just connected because we both are in Texas and just had a fantastic conversation. And I just thought you would enjoy listening to what she has to say and her perspective. So keep it up because you're doing some great work. Thank you. Yeah. Dave, any other thoughts here? Or you know what, Perry, let me ask you this. What's the best way for our audience to get in touch with you? So say somebody was like, hey, I'd like to do, like a meet and greet with Perry. How do I do that?
Yeah, I think probably the easiest way is if you're on LinkedIn. I'm super easy to find on LinkedIn. Pari, P-A-R-I. It's smart. There's not very many of us out there, so I'm pretty easy to find on LinkedIn. And like Matt said earlier, I'm pretty active. I'm on every morning. You could also email me, and my email is my first name, Pari, .smartpossibilities@gmail. My company's name is Smart Possibilities, and I've also got a website, so you could find me at smartpossibilities.net. So smartpossibilities.net is where you can find my website as well. So, and I love to reach out. I love to connect. I kind of think that's why we're all here, is to connect and help each other. So that would be great.
That's fun. All right. Until next time, we are so grateful to have you on the show, Pari. Thank you so much. And until next time.
That's a wrap on today's episode. Big thanks to our sponsor, Character Matters Coaching and Consulting. If you're ready to unlock your leadership potential and make the impact you're meant to make, visit charactermatterscoaching.com and connect with Matt about transforming your team or organization. If this conversation sparks something for you, share it with a fellow leader who needs to hear it. And don't forget, all of today's resources are waiting for you in the show notes. Until next time, keep discovering your secret sauce.